Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we are here with my dear friend, Cortney Ostrosky, and we are going to talk about how to get over it when it comes to energy leaks and wasting our energy, the way that we take care of our energy and tend to it, the things that maybe we often get tripped up around or miss, or maybe some mistakes or missteps that we could improve. And when I was thinking about this episode this month around this theme of energy, I of course thought of Cortney because she is not only a human design reader, she is also an international retreat leader. She's a woman of many hats and does so many things, but she is exceptional, I think, at energy management and especially around her zone in human design. So thanks for being here with me. I'm so excited to have you.
Yes, thank you for having me. I love this topic and think it's so relevant for every single human being on this planet. So I'm so excited.
Yay. Before we dive in, do you want to give a quick little overview? I know I said a couple of the things that you do in the world, but I know that you have so many other things that you offer and you have some exciting things coming up. So do you want to share a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share human design right off the bat because we're going to talk about that today. So I have done several human design trainings and I've been giving readings for years. I love human design so much. It was a huge game changer for me in my life and in my work, in my relationships, you name it. So human design is a big part of who I am and what I do and what I offer in my business. I also am a yoga teacher. And so I teach privately here in Charleston. I'm excited about the new year. I'll probably have some pop-up classes for those that are local. And then I do international retreats, like you said. And one of the big focuses in my business right now also is I have a women's coaching course called Feminine Genius. And I'm not sure when this will go live, but doors will open on December 29th. And I'm so pumped about this new experience that I've created for women that want to really embody that feminine genius that is alive in all of us. And sometimes it's just untapped, and women that want to just wake up and do the inner work and feel really alive in their bodies and in their lives. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. And I love every single second of it.
Yay. I love it. I'm so excited. I know some of what is coming for Feminine Genius because we've been working on the back end of it a little bit together through the Business Alchemy Circle. So I'm excited to watch that come to life and see the women who are meant to be part of that journey with you in the new year.
I'm so excited too. Like I get chills thinking about it. And I didn't mention, but I also have a podcast, the Unique Way podcast, and you have been on my podcast. So y'all go check out Emily's episode. Off the top of my head, I don't remember which one, but it was a juicy one.
I think it was a pretty early.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was
right.
Definitely a crowd favorite. Like it was, we talked about doing what you love and then how money will follow. I'm trying to scroll right now and see.
I remember we recorded it before I moved out of my apartment before we bought this house and fully moved in. So I think it was in the
blast from the past
though. Yeah. I'm not sure when it actually came out, but it was early on, like in the beginning of your podcast, which is so exciting because you've been at it for almost, when did it actually launch? Was it March?
It was February. And actually now I see you are episode 13. So yeah,
I love it.
Early. Go check out episode 13 on the Unique Way podcast. So yeah, we're almost to a year. So February 5th will be its birthday. It's been a fun journey.
So exciting. That's awesome. And your podcast has done so well. It's like a favorite of so many people.
Thank you. Thank you. That makes me so happy. Yes. I'm very proud of it.
Everybody go check that out and follow and add it to your, queue of podcasts that you listen to on a weekly basis, because Cortney has some really fun, like edgy sometimes conversations also. Like the one about sexual blueprints was really amazing. I remember listening
erotic
to
blueprints.
That. Yes, erotic blueprints.
What's so cool about that is that episode came out several months ago. I mean, kind of in the beginning too. And at the time they were talking about how they were in the process of filming a Netflix series. And I was like, oh, wow, like this is about to blow up. And then Sex, Love, and Goop came out, and Jaya is featured in that series. And her husband, Ian, is actually who came on my podcast. And so it was really cool to see up close and personal, like how the erotic blueprints were created. And a lot of people loved it because it's like your erotic love language. But yeah, we definitely touch on some more edgy topics like sacred sexuality and all kinds of stuff. Anything from money to sexuality to self-development to wellness. So we cover it all.
It's so fun. And I loved watching like Sex, Love, and Goop. And I was like, so excited that he had been on your podcast before. I was like, oh my God, I already listened to this. Like we were so ahead of the curve.
I know. It was so fun. I was like, I knew this was going to really stick and like blow up. But yeah, that's a great series for anyone listening that, you know, in thinking of it in terms of energy, you know, our sexual energy is a huge force that we have access to, that we can, you know, leak. We can have energy leaks in that realm as well, just as much as, you know, everyday life. So it's juicy.
I find it so funny when we're talking about energy, and just as you bring that up, I'm like, it always feels like, and especially right now, you know, we're recording this, it'll come out next week. So it's not like that far out, but you know, it's holiday season. It's all of these things going on at the same time. I feel like in my life, I was telling you before we started recording, there's been so much, like, there was like this, almost like through eclipse season or something, there was all this stuff that just felt like it was going wrong. And then like nothing was happening that I wanted and needed to happen at that time. Everything was out of my control. I was just like, wow, what is happening? So frustrating. And then it was like that shifted. And then, you know, there's always something. I think it's interesting to watch how energy flows throughout your life, because if it's not business or sex or relationships or what, like there's always something where we never have this like fully perfect, all the way in balance, exceptionally, like, you know, that perfect destination idea of what like how energy is in our life, right? Like not everything is going to be all perfectly in balance at the same time, all the time. And I don't know why I feel called to share that. It just is funny to like watch how it moves through your life, right? And how like as we learn to work with energy in our life, and as we become more aware of it, and what we're going to talk about today, right? There's always like attention and like management, and like you were saying earlier, like hygiene that happens for our energy also. And we often forget this. We often forget that this is a really important component because we can't see it as much as some of the other things we can like see. So let's dive into real quick, like an overview of human design, and because this is so connected to energy and how we use energy. And you have a really beautiful definition that you've shared with me before. Now I forget what it is exactly, but there are how many different types? 4, 5?
Well, there are 5, but some people combine like the generators and manifesting generators together. So traditionally there are 4, but I like to say 5 because I think there's some subtle but distinct differences in manifesting generators and generators. So, but yeah, I can share kind of like an overview of what human design is and the different types, because to your point, we're talking about energy, and energy is something that I just get since a young child. I can really pick up on energy. I feel energy. I can sense things that I've always felt like made me a little bit different, but also like very intuitive. And when I learned about human design, I was like, this is it. This is kind of like giving a language to how I operate, which seems very different than like the majority of the rest of the world. So like learning that I was a projector was so mind blowing because it just made so much sense. But human design in a nutshell is a system of understanding energy and how we are all uniquely energetically wired. So when you look at human design, like your human design chart, that's like a blueprint of your unique energy. And we're all wired very differently. So when you learn how to work with your unique energetic blueprint, life flows better because it's like, you know what supports you, you know what good energy hygiene looks like, because you as a generator, it's going to look very different for me as a projector, right? So it's like, it gives us permission to live life more authentically and in the flow with who we came to be, versus like society says we need to have a 9-to-5 job and we need to do this and that. It's like letting go of the shoulds and just kind of like learning to flow with your energy and use your energy accordingly, and not working against it and not forcing. And learning about human design, it shows you how your energy wants to be expressed and exchanged with other people in the world. At its core, it is a merge of like all of these ancient wisdom traditions, but I feel like getting into all of that takes us really down a long path and we have a short amount of time. So human design, it's a system of understanding energy. And there are 5 types in human design. We have manifestors, projectors, generators, manifesting generators that are like a hybrid, and reflectors. And I like to use the analogy of a movie set. My teacher, Karen Curry, uses this analogy, and it just so helps me to like understand how we all work together and need each other. There's no superiority in human design. Like we're all equals. We all have different gifts and we all need each other. So on that movie set, the manifestor would be like the producer. Manifestors have this energy of initiating things and people, moving people to action, getting things going. They have that intense energy of initiation. And they're also like 9% of the population. So the other 91% of us are not here to like initiate and move things to action. We're actually here to kind of sit back and let life come to us. But that also requires us like really doing what we love, being in our zone of genius, like clearing all the energy leaks, having really good energy hygiene. So we're actually magnetizing the things meant for us. So manifestors are the initiators. They have this intense energy about them and they're here to get things started. They're not the ones that are here to like pull it through the finish line and, execute every little detail. They're kind of more big picture, get it started, on to the next. And I think a lot of like a hang up with the manifestor is like feeling like they don't always finish what they start and they have like guilt about it, or they wonder why like everybody doesn't love them, but it's because they have this intensity about them and people are either going to kind of love them and be really drawn to them, or they're not. And I'm like, you got your people, enjoy it. Don't worry about the rest. So that's the manifestor. On that movie set, the projector would be like the director on set. So projectors are really gifted at seeing energy and seeing the others deeply and knowing like, oh, you could go here and you could go there. And they're really good at putting people in places so they can maximize their energy and really rise to their potential. So they're good at guiding and directing others in energy. And projectors are not an energy being. Projectors and reflectors are actually considered light beings, and they are here to guide and to be the seers. They're not here to be like hustling and grinding and working in the way we think of work in modern day life. So projectors get this permission slip of like doing work differently, working smarter, not harder. I mean, I think that's good advice for all of us, but like, especially for the projector that has a limited amount of fuel in the tank every day, is to just be very efficient and be very effective with the energy and the time that you have. And I think a lot of projectors I work with, I see a lot of burnout and exhaustion because they're not living in alignment with their unique energy type that is very different from the majority of the world, because the majority of the world are energetic beings there. And my teacher says the projectors are like the birds in the trees, and like the generators and the manifesting generators and the manifestors are like the animals on the jungle floor, like, like having a party, and we want to be in the party, but yet like we're not designed, we're just all different. Right. And so back to the movie set, the manifesting generators and the generators would be like the actors and actresses on stage making the magic happen. You guys have this energetic life force and workforce energy and power to like make things happen. You guys are the creators and the builders of the world, and you have this life force energy that you can channel in really powerful ways to create things and build things. And it's just so cool to see when there's a generator like yourself that's like so in alignment with their purpose and their calling. It's like you are unstoppable and you become very, very magnetic in that state. The thing that I see with a lot of G's and MGs is they think that because they have all of this energy that they need to initiate like the manifester, and that doesn't work for you guys. So it's better to like let people know who you are, what you do, what you want, throw yourself into your passion. And then you become so lit up and magnetic that people, opportunities, collaborations, clients just start to come to you. And that's another reason why energy hygiene is so important, because the more any type is not maintaining their energy, the less magnetic you become, the less kind of like bright and shiny your aura becomes. So we are less powerful, right? So it's all energy. And then lastly, we have the reflectors. They're the 1% of the population, very rare, very wise. And they would be like the audience on that movie set. They are watching and observing everything unfolding, and then they are reflecting back. So they are mirrors for all of us, and they're really good at reflecting back. Like they're kind of like barometers for the health and wellness of the company that they're in, or the environment that they're in, or the workplace that they're in. So if you're in a workplace, I actually think it's really cool. Like I worked for a team once, and I did a human design workshop for our team, and we had at least one of every type on our team. And I was like, this is epic, you guys. Like this is also very rare, but it's so fun to have that like different energy to work with, and to like, again, to like kind of balance each other out. And that way you can play different people to their strengths. And so that's something else I do with human design, but kind of off on a tangent, but it's like working with teams, small or large businesses, but that can be really fun for a team to kind of better understand each other. Like understanding ourselves is great, but when I understand how you operate and how it's different, I give you more permission to do it your way. And I don't take it personally, or I don't get frustrated, right? You have a little more patience for people when you understand them at an energetic level. So in a nutshell, that's human design. And those are the 5 types. And I know I threw a lot at you, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I love this. And I think it's really helpful to do a reading with you, because we did this over a year ago, I think, where we did like a deep dive on my human design profile, and you walked me through what that means and how to translate it into actually tending my energy better. And it was also fun because I know that Jeff, my partner, is a projector. And so it helped me to understand, oh, well, he just functions differently than me, which I still struggle with from time to time, because I'm like, what are you doing? Like what? But actually the cool thing is he recently got this like promotion at work. So he's now in a position where instead of being in a sales role, like what would be maybe more suited to a generator or manifesting generator, he's now in a leadership position where he's like building a team and responsible for their success. And he feels very much like that is much better for his energy, and being able to, shift the role so that it can align more with what he's great at and what's natural for him, and seeing where things could be more efficient or how things could be improved and things like that, not being the one to actually have to do it, but like empowering the people on his team to go run with it and create is so exciting.
Yeah, that's like, that feels really aligned for a projector, because projectors are also really good, again, at seeing energy, seeing how we can create more efficiency and more effectiveness with systems and processing and placing people in the right places. Like that is such a projector job. Like I feel like he landed in a really good spot. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. And he got to like draft his team. Like he got to
Oh my
like pick,
gosh.
like kind of
Yeah.
figure out like
Awesome.
who
So
was going to
cool.
be best fit for him and that kind of stuff as they were restructuring. So that felt exciting for him too. I can tell that
Yeah.
there's a difference in like how he's feeling with being in a role where he's more aligned with that
I
energy type.
love
It's really
it.
cool to see.
And also, I want to share for anyone listening that might be a generator and have a projector partner. Like one thing that I've learned through working with people and couples, because I also can do couples readings and connection charts, but a lot of energy beings look at projectors and they're like, you're so lazy, or like, why aren't you like, off to the races first thing in the morning like me? And it's like, it's not lazy, it's different. And projectors energy, while we can work less, it can be very innovative. So look for the opportunity maybe to see your partner's creativity or focus more on the similarities rather than the differences, and give people permission to just live in alignment with how their energy wants to be expressed. So that can be helpful for partners to know. They're the different
Definitely.
types for sure.
Highly recommend booking a
Mhm.
reading as like a partnership too, if you struggle with that,
Mhm.
because it's challenging to get
Yeah.
it because you just don't think that way and it's not how you operate.
Yeah. It's so easy. Yeah. To like get confused with someone that's like, I just don't understand you. Or like, why do you do
Hmm.
this that way? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, but when we learn that, yeah, it's not personal and different isn't always bad. Actually,
Hmm.
different is great. Variety is beautiful.
Hmm.
It's just a good
Totally.
permission slip. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about when you say energy hygiene, what exactly does that mean to you?
Yeah. So, like the word hygiene literally translates to conditions or practices conducive to maintaining health and wellness. And so I think about energy hygiene, it's like conditions and practices that you use to maintain clean energy.
Hmm.
And for me, that's like taking precious care of my energy. It's looking at where I have energy leaks, like where I'm just maybe unknowingly or maybe knowingly leaking energy. It's also looking at, I like to think of energy like time or money. Energy can be spent, wasted, or invested. So those are
Mm.
like a couple of different ways that I like to think of energy hygiene. Like, but it's like a daily practice of like checking in, maintaining, like maintenance, like you get your oil changed all the time, you brush your teeth every day, like the same kind
Hmm.
of thing for your energy.
Hmm. What for you do those practices look like, or would they maybe be different practices based on human design types? Like what can
Yeah.
people start doing and implementing to make sure that they're like checking that box and paying attention
Mhm.
to their energy and taking care of it
Yeah.
when that may not, like, I think for a lot of us we're just going through all the things and we're like, my energy, that's
Yeah.
like the last thing when we think about. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously we want more energy to be able to do more things
Yeah.
usually, or like be more present, or we want more
Yeah.
focus, or we want, but I think for whatever reason, this is one of the things that because we can't see it, like I was saying, and
Mhm.
because it's not as tangible as a lot of things that we can sort of manage or track, it can feel a little bit like, I know that's important, but like, what does that even mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think you bring up such a good point. Like it's something that we can't see, yet we all feel. And I think like
Hmm.
if you think about, I often think like your energy precedes you. Like before you
Hmm.
walk into a room, like you could just walk into a room and not say a word and the energy will shift. And you probably experience being in a room with someone that is such a light and just magnetic, and you want to be with them and you want to talk to them, and people that are the opposite, that are like repellent and dark and maybe like negative or gossiping. And it's like that energy, we can't see it, but we all feel it. And it's like, even if it's unconscious, we are kind of guided to people or
Hmm.
away from them accordingly. So yeah, it's not something that we think about maybe um, tending to on a day-to-day basis
Hmm.
or like maintaining, but it's so important, especially in terms of human design. But one of the places like where I like to start is just thinking about energy leaks. So again, we're talking about human design and how everything's energy and how it's so important to have healthy energy and energy hygiene and this big bright aura. But if you're leaking energy everywhere, that's going to be impossible. So I can share like some ways that I see people leaking energy, because sometimes it's like, that's a good place to start, because it doesn't matter if you're brushing your teeth every day, if all you're eating is like sugar, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, so like, one of the things that I notice, and this is so apparent, but it's been very, very present for me, is just social media. Like I notice so many people draining and leaking their energy with mindless scrolling, not having healthy boundaries around that app. That is definitely having effect on us subconsciously and in ways that are, pretty wild. Also, I think work that is draining or soul sucking. Like I've had people come to me that are like, my job is just I'm like, that is a huge energy leak when we're out of alignment with work, or even a relationship. Toxic relationships can be so taxing on us energetically. So either eliminating those or having more clear boundaries with those is helpful. I also find something that can be that's less apparent, but that I find can be a huge energy leak, is impatience and inconsistency. And I think when we're impatient, it's like we're rushing for the next thing. We're wanting to force something. It's like we're not trusting the process. And I heard an awesome quote recently, and it was something along the lines of, we often hijack the process for short-term gain while doing long-term damage. So it's like we're depleting our energy, we're depleting our momentum when we're not trusting the process, we're not practicing patience and like trusting in divine timing, right? I know I can relate to this. Something else I can relate to is inconsistency, like not showing up fully, not showing up regularly. Like that, I feel like can be, it's like, we're off, we're on, we're off, we're on, like showing up for yourself in terms of like, maybe it's like self-care or getting in the workouts or showing up for your people or whatever that looks like for you. Another way of leaking energy can just be what you're consuming being high vibe or low vibe, excuse me. If you're consuming low vibrational food, low vibrational media, alcohol, drugs, like things that are just lowering your vibration, it's like it's leaking energy. And another thing that comes to mind is just like forcing things. That is like a huge no-no in human design. And there's a song that I've been like having on repeat called Mental Health by Moonlight Scorpio. And she talks about, I don't chase, I attract. And that is like, should be the theme song for human design, because it's all about being a magnet for what you desire. And like, when your energy is right, you're protected, you're overflowing and abundant with your energy. It's like, you're attracting things, right? You don't have to force, you don't have to like worry about when, and, back to that whole impatience thing. So I think energy leaks are a great place to start. You might have something to add too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this maybe fits in, but trying to change other people.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Like trying to, or just like choosing to get hooked into attachment or expectation, right? Like that's a huge energy leak. I know that I can get caught in, is like, okay, let me just like not get so attached to how something has to look or how it should be or whatever. And like keep my standards, but lower my expectations of exactly how everything happens.
Yeah.
Or when, or my own like self-imposed, that can be really stressful. And I guess just like stress in general, right? Like things that cause stress. But I think what you're speaking to in terms of energy leaks are all like stressors from all these different areas, right? So that's like environmental stressors and the food that we eat and all of that, physiological and otherwise. So I think I also think, an energy leak can be thinking that we have to do it all alone and acting like lone warrior instead of tapping into a spiritual connection and the power of community and things like that. Like, instead of knowing how well resourced we actually are, we're efforting so much and we're pushing so hard, like you were saying, like pushing, forcing, that we're like leaking all of this energy when it's like, maybe not the best use of that resource, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that. And I can really relate to that kind of, lone warrior, I think is the term you used. I really love that. It sounds better than lone wolf to me, but like, I can really relate to that, like independence to a point where it's actually costing me energy. It's not helpful. It's not empowering, and totally agree. Like, thinking you have to do things alone, that is not how we were wired as humans in general, especially thinking of human design, because it's like a very tribal circuitry and like how we're all in this web together and we all impact each other with our thoughts, actions, and words. So it's like, even if you want to do the thing on your own, you're really not. So you might as well leverage it to be of service and to actually also receive help, like the giving and the receiving. It's a two-way street. So yeah, cheers to that. That's so important.
I think also just like, overgiving is probably one, right?
Yeah.
What else? I had like a bunch of thoughts. There are so many.
Yeah.
We could like keep going forever and ever and ever. Oh, even just like, not, well, I guess like not having a plan sometimes, like not all the time. I think sometimes we need to just be like trusting, but also like having an intention or a vision, maybe is a better word. Like having a vision for where we're going and being intentional with our action and things like that can be like, the confusion or the lack of clarity can be a big energy leak too, because we're constantly like, what's happening? And what do, and then we're questioning and we're spinning in the questioning instead of just getting clear.
I think that's huge. And that kind of relates to what I was sharing about like spending, wasting, or investing your energy. Like the energy leaks are ways we're wasting our energy. Right. And then there are ways we spend our energy, which I think of like the things that we got to do every day. Like I had to put gas in my car today. I didn't want to, but I had to. Like you have to do things that it's like, you're not wasting your energy, but you're spending it and it's got to happen. But then there's also investing your energy. And that's like investing in coaching, investing in community, investing in a reading to better understand yourself and your inner workings, right? Like investing your money and your energy and your time into those things are going to have a tenfold reward for you. And in ways that, again, aren't like maybe immediate always, sometimes it is, but also like it can just affect your energy, right? That part of you can't see that is speaking to others. It's like, it's so powerful. But yeah, that investing piece is huge, because that's like being proactive with your energy versus being reactive, right? We don't want to just be like a pinball in a machine bouncing off the walls. At least I don't want
Such
to
a
be.
good visual. Yeah. Right. Like just being tossed around willy-nilly, unintentionally. Yeah. I love that. I love that distinction between like spending, wasting, and investing. And I think a lot of times people, you know, especially when it comes to like coaching conversations I think a lot of people worry that it's almost like, okay, am I investing? If I invest my energy in this, can I trust myself enough to that I will follow through and continue investing my energy in this versus will I be wasting my energy in this? It's an interesting thing I'm noticing.
That is very interesting. Wow. Yeah. I've never thought about it in terms like that, but you know, it's interesting because I invested in coaching all of 2021 with you. Like I did back-to-back 6-month courses, and it my return on investment it's invaluable. It was priceless. And it's like, it's so funny because I waited so long to do that coaching, and there's no good in dwelling on the past and what I didn't do, but like, wow, lesson learned. And also like just being someone that can share from an example of like, that's a perfect example of investing your energy, your time, and your money. I mean, and just like what a great example of making an investment and how good you feel like when you do trust yourself and when you do step up to the plate and like decide you're not playing small anymore. It feels so good. And yeah, it's a little scary because you're going out on a limb and you're taking a leap of faith, but like what I've found is those things are often like the best growth opportunities. So
yeah. And it's interesting too, because I think any investment like that we make, we can say it's for our business, but in a lot of ways it's for our energy, right? It's like, oh, I'm ready to invest my energy in something that is going to, let me become more magnetic because I feel supported, because I'm well resourced, because I have the tools, because I have the support, because I know that no matter what, I'm like, I've got a Voxer message away from a solution or something, and it allows us to level up energetically before the actual level up results happen, which then attract the results or create them. Right?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
that
so
magnetism
true.
that you were talking about too.
It's like, it's almost hard for me to explain with words. Like I feel it so intuitively, but like, it's like when you are stepping into that energy, like maybe it is a dollar amount you're giving to a coach, or maybe it's like taking precious care of your body, or maybe it's saying no to alcohol or social media, like whatever it is, but like you are allowing your energy to like take up more space to like really be fully expressed. Like you're not leaking and wasting it. And you're just, it's so good. It's just, I love talking about this, but
me too. And
it's so powerful.
I feel that way too. It's so hard to articulate for me, like what happens and the truth that I know in my bones to be true about these things, because it is so like, we just don't have language for it. I feel like in our culture anyway, or in the English language, maybe it's like, there aren't words like there are in some other languages to kind of like capture these concepts energetically. But also I know it, like I see it in my life. And sometimes I'm sure you do too, like the instant reverberation when I am leaking energy. Like if I'm, like you were saying, like frustrated or impatient, I can tell, like, I know what's about to happen when I'm in that zone. It's like everything gets harder. Everything, like, I'll be driving somewhere and I'll hit every red light. I'll be like, if I'm impatient, it's like, forget it. Nothing is going to make me less impatient or more patient, because everything's going to go completely off the rails of what I think it should, because I'm being impatient and my energy's like not open and spacious and available for ease. Right?
Yeah. And it's funny because you said frustrated and impatient, and frustration is actually the not self theme for the generator. So every type has a not self theme, meaning this feeling that arises when you're out of alignment. So for you, when you're feeling that frustration creeping in, it's a good indicator of maybe time to slow down or check in or reset, right? We're out of alignment. So it's just like it's like a wake up call, So human design can be good for that too, of like understanding like what that might be. Like what is that wake up call for you?
So, and I find that when I feel frustrated, the thing I need to do is really come back in and check in and say like, okay, what need is not being met? What desire is there right now that is not being fulfilled? What is the thing that I am frustrated about? Like, what is, because usually it's not the thing that I'm frustrated about on the surface. It's like, because then that means this, and that means I'm not getting this need met, or that means I can't have what I want, or that means whatever. right?
It's
Like it
like
means
creating a
something
story
else.
about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Isn't that funny that so often it's not what's happening in life. It's the meaning we're giving it. It's the
Never.
story
Yeah.
we're creating around it. We're taking it personally. And it's like, if we just could drop that, how much energy we would have.
I know. That's the thing. That's the major energy leak. The story you're telling yourself, right? I'm always like curious about that for myself, for Jeff, for, clients. It's like, okay, so this is happening, but what's the story you're telling yourself? Because usually the problem is not the problem. The problem is the story you're telling yourself about what that means and how you're internalizing it or taking it personally or projecting it onto something or whatever. Oh,
yeah. Well, having that ability to check in and ask yourself that is a huge tool, and that's great for energy hygiene. So
yes, a great
write
tip.
that one down, people.
Yeah. Grab your pen, take notes for
take
sure.
some notes.
Yeah. Do you have a daily meditation practice right now? Or
it's interesting. Yeah. So, okay. I won't say every day, but it's funny because a lot of people like wake up and carve out 20 minutes to meditate, and mine's very different. I actually do like a yoga nidra meditation while I'm going to sleep. And so I find that my meditation practice really serves me more in the evening because I have a hard time like winding my brain down and like going to sleep. Like once I'm asleep, I'm fine, but it can take hours for me to like unwind from the day. And that's actually part of my human design. It's like I have a lot of openness. And so I pick up energy all through the day, and I need a wind down time to like cleanse and clear out and discharge all the energy that I picked up through the day. You too, Emily, you have a lot of openness in your chart. So important for everyone really, but especially if you have a lot of openness. So long story longer, I like an evening meditation. I love Olivia, your assistant.
Yes.
She has great, the yoga nidra. I guess it's like a sleep meditation on Insight Timer. So that's my jam.
Yeah. Yeah. Look her up. She's Olivia Roberson on Insight Timer. We'll link it in the show notes.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it's a great one. And I've done that too. But I think that's interesting because I always like, for whatever reason, I still have in my mind that like, if I'm doing my morning practice properly, quote unquote, properly, correctly, then it should include meditation, but actually like, it does not feel fun for me to sit down and be like silent and quiet and not, so I'll do more like I'll have my tea, I'll read a couple pages in my book in my little chair in my office, I'll light incense, I'll write in my journal, but then I like to like move and take a walk and get inspired and listen to a podcast or something. And actually it feels much more, especially in this season of winter, it feels much more like, because light is so limited. So like when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
There's only so much of this, and then at night it's like, long, slow, like more meditative practice in the evening to kind of empty out.
Yeah, it's so funny. We're so in alignment there. Yeah, I feel the same. And it's a good permission slip to other people. Like you don't have to have like this rigid morning ritual or do it the way everyone's doing it on social media. Like you can make it work for you. Yeah. And that's beautiful. And that's like freeing up your energy. I think anytime we hear the word should, like you should do meditation in the morning, or you should, it's like that immediately is like conditioning. Like should equals conditioning. We've been conditioned to think we should do it this way, but if in your heart and your authenticity is like, that's not for me in that way, then honor that.
Yeah. Yes. I find this I think overall, in conclusion, if we had to put a bow on it for today's conversation around getting over it when it comes to the energy blocks, energy leaks and things, it's a constant. I think this is the most important thing that I really want everybody to walk away from this conversation with, is that it is not a one and done thing. It is an ever like a process of constantly checking in.
Yes.
And being curious with yourself and not judging yourself for the needs you have or the desires you have or what that is going to look like to get those needs and desires met, right? But actually tending to, without judgment, your energy and giving yourself what you need, or asking for what you need outside of yourself when it's something that you can't give to yourself, and that you take unapologetically what you need to feel full, to feel vibrant, to feel magnetic, to feel resourced, to feel like you've got, like, your energy can be as bright and clean and magnetic, like you were saying, as possible. And I think a lot of that has to do with knowing yourself, right? Like whether it's through human design and getting that level of insight into what's going to probably work best for you, and creating a system based on that for your self-care, energy management, or like really getting curious in so many other ways too, right? Like getting curious in every moment of like, I'm feeling tired right now, or I'm feeling off, or I'm feeling sluggish. Like what did I eat yesterday? Or why is that? And I think if we can like frame our decisions and practice framing our decisions around like, what will add energy right now? What will fuel me in some way, whether that's like physically, spiritually, emotionally, whatever. Maybe that's a good barometer to try on this month as you're working this theme, right, of energy and paying attention to that. It's like, what would feel enlivening? What would feel like it adds energy to my day?
I love that. I think also a good practice can be like having an energy journal where like every day you just reflect maybe on how you're feeling energetically, what happened, and like looking for patterns. Like maybe if you notice a pattern, you can switch things up to like support yourself and put those energetic boundaries in place so that you're protecting your energy. And you have, we're talking about this in terms of you, like, or like in terms of my energy, but your energy affects how you show up for everyone else in your life, so it's like you're looking out for everyone else while you're looking out for you. It starts with us, so, but yeah, I think just like tracking your energy and looking for patterns and ways that you can better care for your energy. It's a process. It's a journey. Like you mentioned, like it's not this destination where everything's perfect. It's like, it's going to ebb and flow. And what we need energetically is going to change from today to next year. So just always being in conversation with yourself and your energetic needs.
Yeah. And I think so many people tend to speak about this as though it's not an ever evolving process. Like it is a destination, because I think that's sexier and like easier to market, is like, if you just do these 3 things, then you'll have limitless energy forever and ever. And it's like, well, maybe, but probably not, like you're also going to have to be in the habit of it, in the practice and the ritual of it. And I think, like you were saying, consistency is so key. In not having to make that leap from all or nothing to everything to nothing again and again, because that's depleting in itself, right? It's like a lot of inertia required.
It is. And I think to your point, it's like, I like to think about grabbing that lowest hanging fruit of like, okay, maybe just for this day or week or month, all I focus is like my social media use, right? And like having clear boundaries around that. And once you do it for long enough, it's not like it requires effort. It just becomes your default, right? And then you add the next thing, and then it's like little baby steps, but you'll feel and experience and see a big difference in your life for sure. But it doesn't have to be like 0 to 100,
Yeah. I've been reading Atomic Habits, or listening to on Audible, Atomic Habits. Have you read it?
Yes. Well, I've listened to a lot of his podcasts. I think I have the Audible book, but I haven't started it yet.
I'm like, I think about halfway through the Audible book, and I just really am like so in love with this, because it's stuff that I kind of know, but he puts it into a system where it's just like, aha, all these like
Mhm.
truth bombs and like
Yeah.
research backed stuff. And I'm like, yes, okay, I'm
Mhm.
set up. I know what to do. So I find maybe something that could be fun for people too who are listening, if you really want to like dive into this concept, is to set up, like to choose, if you look at the year ahead that's coming,
Mhm.
since we're just moving into the new year, looking at like what's one new habit you want to
Mhm.
start each month.
Mhm. Yep.
Like if you could, like if by the end of the year you want to become this version of yourself who has all this energy and who has an abundance of magnetism and who is really like
Mhm.
thriving and vibrant and tending their energy, what would that mean? Like what would that look like? What would that version of you be doing? And then can you like reverse engineer building in those habits and pick one a month so you're not overdoing it? And is there, and maybe each month you've got like one habit to start and one habit to stop doing
Mhm.
to
I
tend your
love that.
energy.
And it's so funny because we're doing that in my Feminine Genius course. Every month there's
Oh,
going to be
are
a new
you?
monthly ritual. Yeah. But
I love it.
everyone's will be different. But yeah,
Mhm.
for that exact reason, I probably got it from him in that book. But it's like, if we don't like, imagine like what little effort that actually takes to create
Right,
just one ritual a month. But then at the end of the year, you have 12, in 2 years, you have
right.
24. Like it's like wild how much power we have with our energy when we're managing it well and investing it. It's wild because I think when we're like scrolling or we're doing things that's leaking energy, it's like we don't realize the vast amount of energy that we're pouring into it. But when we're channeling it proactively, it's like, wow, it's so
Mhm.
powerful and it's so cool. And it doesn't, and I think his whole thing, I forget the author's name, but he talks about just like 1% more or 1% better every day, or like
Yes.
that adds up, compound interest over time. Like it's
Mhm.
huge. So those
Yes.
little daily acts create really big impact in our life. And
Mhm.
it's important, I think, that we remind people of that, because I think around the holidays, especially the new year, people are like big goals and those are great, but like
Yeah.
break them down to bite-sized pieces that you can act on the daily,
Mhm.
because otherwise you just feel overwhelmed and never get there.
Right. And I think also if you are kind of already living in alignment, if you're doing work that's fulfilling, like we just had like a warm-up session for next year's mastermind earlier today. And one of the things that came up was like, okay, if you're already doing your work, if you're already doing like, you're in a good spot, probably, if you're in this experience with me right now, like you're not suffering every day, you're not doing like soul sucking work, right? Like you're in a business you love that you've created and you have a life that you love and you want to improve it and expand it and really take it to the next level, scale it, whatever. But we were talking about like the power of small change like this and how it's probably the sneakier things. It's probably the things that are like 1 degree here and 1 degree
Yeah.
there, and like refinement and being really discerning and really like deepening into our um, discernment and decision making skills about what's a yes and what's a no, and it's like really drilling down even deeper than the more obvious stuff that we can obviously see, like, oh, this is a toxic relationship, oh, this is, the bigger things that are
Yeah.
kind of more
Mhm.
obvious once we're a little bit aware of them, right? That we're like, yeah, I know this isn't great for me, but I'm doing it. um I find that like actually if you're like for my people like you, right? Like you've worked with me before.
Mhm.
It's like these things might not be as obvious, but being in the
Yeah.
conversation with yourself around the subtleties and the like tiny things that are like, yeah, that's become a habit that's not serving me, or a pattern or a belief system, or
Mhm.
it tends to be sneakier at these levels.
Yeah, I totally agree. You have to be a little more discerning, and it's almost hard to when you're in your own bubble. That's like
Yeah.
part of what I experience as a huge benefit working with you as a coach, but also having like the group,
Mhm.
because also like even when I wasn't experiencing something that maybe someone else was experiencing as they were talking it out, I gained some valuable nuggets of wisdom that I then implemented when I had that thing. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's like all these light bulb moments, right? But it's almost like those are blind spots. But like
Right.
if we could see them, they wouldn't be blind spots. So
Right.
we
Right.
all
It's like
have them.
we're all like just regurgitating and eating our own bullshit that maybe it's not helping, right? Like when we're trying to do it all on our own and like spinning in our own energy, it's interesting. Gosh, I feel like we could talk about this forever and ever.
I know, right?
Because there's just more, there's like more threads and spin-offs in this web of conversation around energy, but it's so important. I think it's a cool conversation. I'm glad that we've got to do this too. And that you got
me
to
too. Thank you for having
you.
me. Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. So 2 questions. One is kind of, a personal one, just because Jeff keeps asking me what I want for Christmas, and I can't think of a damn thing. So what's on your Christmas list?
Oh my God. Honestly, I don't have like a Christmas list. Is that weird? I can't think of anything like that I really need or even really want other than
that
like
you
travel.
haven't already bought yourself.
Yeah. Like I think for me, it's just like travel and experiences. Like I don't, and it's so funny. I will share a gift that I've been getting or like getting to give away that I love. And
I think I saw that and I was like, did she get, I have the same one. I literally bought it.
This Esther Perel game.
Do I want to give this away? I'm so terrible. Do I want to give this away, or do I just want to like bring it to every gathering and like play it with everybody? Because that would be way more fun.
Yeah, I got one for myself, and then I got one for my mom, and I've got one for this like white elephant game I'm going to. But for those listening, I'm holding this game called Where Should We Begin? A game of stories by Esther Perel. And Esther Perel is like Tony Robbins' relationship coach. Like she is the shit. She is so wise. And I just heard her talking about it on a lot of podcasts. So I don't have a response for what I want for Christmas. I almost feel bad that I don't have something. I'm like,
I know. Well, because
this is my gift of giving. So I've got that.
It's so funny because I bought that for like a white elephant thing. And then I was like, what? No, like, no, they won't they won't know what it is. Like the group I'm like, it's like Jeff's family. And I'm like, I don't think anyone would really understand what this is. So maybe I should just like bring it and then we can all play, which is way more fun. That. And then I can bring it to my family because we're going. But, so I'm like, I know exactly what to get for him. I'm like, I can't wait to buy you 10,000 presents. Because I know like he actually doesn't buy himself everything he wants and needs, but I do. And so he's like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know. I have to think, what do I want? What would be like a fun gift to receive, but also like that I'm not going to be upset that I basically picked out and now you're like not doing any legwork.
I know. Well, if I think of anything, I might be able to find him. I don't know if I have his number, but maybe I'll slip some ideas.
Something. Okay. Well, thanks for that. But everybody definitely Christmas gift of the year, I feel like, is this card deck. I'm so excited to play
you
it.
have it. I don't know anyone else that even knows about it. So of course you do. I love it. We're totally sisters. Soul sisters. Twins.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay. And then also tell everybody where they can find you. And you mentioned Feminine Genius before and the podcast, but if you want to give it another round.
Well, the easiest way to find me is Instagram. I'm at Cortney108. That's Cortney 108. No you, but within that, like there's a link in my bio that sends you to all the things, literally where to book a reading. If you want to do a human design reading, I've done several group. They've 2 or 3 have been local here in Charleston, but I've also done, like I worked with a mortgage firm in Manhattan that wanted to do a human design, like workshop for their team. So that's an option. Feminine Genius, my 6-month group coaching course is happening. Doors open on the 29th of December and we start January 12th. So I'm also hosting a free live event that will be on December 29th. That's open, free to anyone that wants to come. It will be yoga and meditation and embodied movement and intention setting and just coming together in community. And so that's really exciting. And I hope to connect with your audience. I love your podcast. I am an avid listener and I feel like, I love to connect with your people. So come say, hey.
Yeah, come let her know that you listened to this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again. And thank you everybody for tuning in today. It's been so fun to have this chat and conversation with Cortney. And I look forward to digging in with you next week on what's the theme we're on? Energy. I don't remember how the order goes at this moment. I'm a little bit like at the end of our day here as we're
I
recording,
know.
but see you next week to cover another area of energy. And I'm excited about that. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great holiday season.